Lynn, in the Times, incels should see dating coaches to be rehabilitated, says one expert. Tell us about that.
Well, I think there's a lot of conversation about, incels at the moment, and many people actually don't know the fundamental meaning. There is a whole culture that derives from the initial meaning, but the meaning essentially is men who are involuntary celibate. They think they should have access to sex, but for whatever reason, women are not giving it to them and they think they should. So there's this idea, Andrew Thomas, a senior lecturer at the University of Swansea and an author, where he's actually carrying out research for extremism, and this part of the extremism is incel culture, where his idea would be dating coaches would help rehabilitate these incels, try and help them to understand maybe women a bit more, what they're looking for, how to speak to women.
Do you see evidence that there are young men who have this resentment against women?
Online every day.
I mean, do you? But in personal interaction, because things can exist in the digital world, and I don't know.
But isn't that the heart of it? Is my view is that there is so much online culture now, and that for men who have these feelings of anger and bitterness towards women, that isn't being derived from real life experience. It's from being quite isolated, not getting out and having any interaction with women, and being told by men on the internet, to a terrible influence, that, this and that, and it's all a terrible narrative.
I think the frustrating thing for me is, on both sides, we're not looking at, OK, what could be some of the fundamental reasons on both sides, women and men. All it seems to be is a shouting match about women against men and men against women. I don't think that helps anybody. I did a video, I think I'm quite balanced in terms of men and women, and I had over 1,000 comments of men essentially saying it's our fault, it's women's fault as to why there's incel culture. And I was like, but then I would not be helpful if I just dismissed their view. I'm not saying that their view has power or is credible, but having a conversation with Gemma, I think there is this level of, again, a lot of social media where girls are showing that they're having, successful lives from a much earlier age, and men are feeling left behind. So they no longer feel that they can gratify women, and women are doing a lot for themselves now. So it's like men are wondering, where do I fit in? What can I do for this woman that she can't already do for themselves?
But isn't it really quite simple? As someone who has a 20-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old son who is not an incel, he's absolutely wonderful, loads of female friends, he's got a girlfriend, and he hasn't got any money or anything like that, but he's just nice to people, he's emotionally intelligent, he knows how to talk to somebody.
It's simple, but clearly there are influences. Well, have a look. Look, these are some graphs from the Financial Times showing the ideology gap that is growing between men and women. That gap that you're talking about, where, hopefully logic and reasonable chat would hope to bridge that gap, but it's not working. Look, in South Korea, this, as you can see here, this is a graph that shows liberal tendencies, if you like, and conservative tendencies. In South Korea, women are becoming more liberal, men are becoming way more conservative. In the US, well, everybody is becoming quite conservative, but, becoming more liberal. Here we go. Women way up in 40% and men becoming more conservative. Germany, less of a divide, but definitely women becoming more liberal. Here in the UK, we have become more liberal as a whole, but still this huge gap between men down here at the bottom in blue and women at the top in red.
OK, so conservative, even in the very name, you're looking at conserving something. It makes me feel like they're almost after something that is a bit of a throwback when gender norms were more defined, and it's like, men were sort of, beating their chests and sort of earning the money, and that has changed.
I think I see myself as a fundamentally more conservative-minded, but I think this conversation is more about men are not willing, not all, but they're not willing to adapt in seeing that the things that would have won us over historically won't really win us over as much anymore. So say, for example, this whole idea that, marriage is the holy grail, or, I'm going to pluck you off the shelf and look
I'm
after
desperate
you.
to be chosen.
This is waning. This is outdated.
So
or even money.
What do you want in place of that kind of ownership relationship?
Do you know what it is? I think men need to work more at emotional intelligence making an effort on their character, their personalities. Again, historically, we didn't have access to finances and being able to do things on our own. So men could get away with not being that nice because they're going to pay the bills or they're going to... But if we are even going to have this whole idea that men can even afford a conservative lifestyle, no, you can't. Most men don't earn enough to support a family, so you need us.
Yeah, I think I get asked, why are you single, quite a bit? And the answer is because... until I meet, so I've had really fabulous, healthy relationships, and I'm friends with all my exes. I've got loads of male friends. I like men. I'm really open to having another relationship at some point. But in the last sort of 4 or 5 years or so, the people I've fallen in love with happen platonically to have been women. Like, I met Marina, my podcast partner. I'm like, wow, you're fabulous. I want to hang out with you all the time. Let's do a podcast.
More interesting.
Currently, and I've been on dates and this and that, when I meet a man that floats my boat as much as that in terms of, like, I want to be around you. As you say, if you don't need somebody, they've got to be... added value in terms of friendship.
That's the key. Men used to know we needed them. Now we want them.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have to. So when somebody needs something, that person can get away with not really working on themselves because you need me. You're never going to leave because, you know, you need me. Yeah. But now we want you to have more interesting things about you, more to say.
It sounds almost as though what it's saying here in the Times, you know, the idea that a coach might be a good idea to actually, before you meet the woman of your dreams, you've actually been told, look, things have changed. What is expected of you is not what was expected of your father or your grandfather.
I think family is falling apart in those conversations now. I think before, you know, you would see your son possibly getting ready to go on a date, you'd give a bit of wisdom.
I have that with my son.
And it worked,
and I think it's why he's doing well. And he does. He comes to me and he'll say, we've got a little bit of an issue going on, whatever, and I chat it through from her point of view as well. He's got an older sister who's been a good influence, so that helps.
We're allowing
I
children...
think every man needs an older sister.
Yeah, we're allowing
that would
children
be the
to use
best,
social media.
the best education. I mean, the only concern I've got about this is, of course, you are taking people, maybe, who have terribly negative views about women, and you're teaching them skills. You are teaching them skills to maybe appear to be that empath,
well, you have to
that
bust myths. You have to bust myths. And also, I think there's going to be a real renaissance of in-person events. They're cropping up already. I know one, for instance...
with young people? I think young people are too in their phones, and parents and older brothers, sisters, cousins are not having that conversation to say, oh, don't listen to that crap, I'll tell you what it's like in real life.
Yeah.
But by the way, everybody on apps is searching for something that
we need to move on.
exist.
We need to move. I'm so sorry, guys.
We could do this all day.
I know.